Here we go, we are live, baby. Hello and welcome to the Connor Mason podcast. That's crazy to say considering the fact that literally 3 days ago I had zero intention of starting a podcast, but here we are. That's what happens when you start surrounding yourself with the right people and learning from people who you want to be like. But if I've learned anything since leaving home at 16, working on cruise ships and hiring a millionaire mentor, I have learned that every single person is just figuring shit out. We all like to think that we've got this big wonderful master plan of what our life might look like in 5, 10, even 15 years from now, but the reality is that we have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. So live today, live in the moment, and just figure it out along the way. That's exactly what I'm doing right now, sat in Da Nang, Vietnam. We spent the last 3 months in Bali, and we made a little transition over to Vietnam just to try and really lock in. So what has happened up until that point? Well, from leaving home at 16, I went and lived in South Shields for 1 year. Then I moved to Glasgow for 3 years during a cadetship to learn how to drive a cruise ship. Spent 5 years in the Merchant Navy and then got myself into property development. Spent 12 months with the Samuel Lees Academy, bought my first house at 21 and then spent the next 12 months renovating it, refinanced it, put it onto Airbnb and then started in remote sales. I'm speaking to you right now on the, what date is it? 8th of June 2026, and I started remote sales on the 29th of December last year. That decision to make the shift from the corporate world, working on cruise ships, traveling the world, to then setting up as my own self-employed entrepreneur came from 3 bullet points that I listed out on a piece of paper. I wrote out at the start of the year 3 things that I wanted from 2026, and they were to leave the UK, leave my job and be genuinely happy. So I wrote out a big list of business ideas, something that was going to give me that opportunity, and I realised after listing out every opportunity from driving super yachts, property development, social media marketing, trading, I named them all. The one that stuck out to me was high ticket sales. If you've never heard of it before, it's basically where you join a Zoom call and take sales calls for a coach or a mentor offering their product or service. That decision made me realise that I could literally have a conversation with somebody about a topic that I'm interested in and get paid very well to do so. So that's what I done. I hired myself another mentor at the very beginning of this year, and 6 weeks later I had quit my job, replaced my old monthly salary in a month, and then booked a one-way flight to Bali. So me and a old school friend that is sat opposite me right now started to do some work together, and we'll touch onto this in another podcast because he will be the very first guest. However, that decision to start doing things together, going to the gym together, talking about what we actually wanted to do with our life, has turned into not just a plan on paper, it's turned into reality. We're both sat here now in a penthouse apartment in Vietnam that we pay £300 a month for, which is quite different from our hometown in Whitehaven in Cumbria. But as we go through this podcast, as we start having these conversations with more and more people, from property developers to self-made entrepreneurs, I want to dig into 3 things. I want to dig into the mentality around building a positive mindset, doing hard things, and just helping you gain clarity on what actually matters. Because I have had a lot of conversations with people in the past. I've spoken to shopkeepers, I've spoken to multi-millionaires, and I've even spoken to a billionaire. And the one thing that we all have in common is that we're just figuring shit out. So that's exactly what I'm going to continue to do. I like to think that I've got it all planned out in the next 12, 24 months from now. But looking back over the last 2 or 3 years, it always changes constantly. So if you're feeling lost and you don't really know what direction your life's taking, put it down on a piece of paper, write down what you actually want from life, and then chase it. And dream so big that nobody in your life right now would even believe it's possible. Because some of the shit that I've wrote on paper right now, if you looked at it, you'd think I'm crazy, you'd laugh at me, but I don't mind because I believe in myself 100%, and that's exactly what I'd encourage everyone else to do. dream so big that nobody on this planet would even think that it's a single percent possible. But as soon as you have that idea, write it down on a piece of paper and believe in yourself 100% and don't let anybody stop you. Because the people are always going to have opinions of you. They're going to look at you, they're either going to support it, encourage you, or they're going to laugh at you. And no matter what you do, you're always going to have them people trying to pull you back, laughing at you. And I've had it throughout this entire journey. But it doesn't matter. Because I'm the one who sat here in Vietnam, 38 degrees outside, in the sun, walking down to the beach, which is 2 minutes away, and living my dream life. But starting this podcast literally came from a single conversation 3 days ago. I had a conversation, well, I actually had a gym workout with him, with a man named Daniel Dagan. Now, I had been following Daniel for the past 2 years on social media. I first seen him on Instagram, and then I seen that he had a podcast. And something just stuck out. He stopped living to the expectations of other people, didn't let anybody hold him back, and done what he wanted to do. And that is the beauty of life. There is no rule book. There is no set list of instructions that we have to abide by. So whatever you want to do, just do it. Life is short. Go out there, smash it. If you want to book a one-way flight to Bali, do it. Because the worst thing that is going to happen is you go back home to mum and dad and you're in the exact same situation. And that's the position I'm in right now. If I was, which will never happen, but let's say I lost every single penny right now. I stopped making money in sales and I just gave up. The worst case scenario is that I go back home to England, I get another job, the same as everybody else, and I fall back into that old routine, going to the pub on a weekend, drinking 5 nights out of 7 in Glasgow, or going to the club every single night for 10 days in a row. But the only difference between me and them is that I'll have had 4 months of experience living in Bali and Vietnam. Chucking a high rocks in Singapore as well makes for a fucking fantastic story. So maybe it might not work out, which is never even entered my brain. I know with 100% conviction that all my goals that I set out on paper, I will achieve. But let's say it didn't happen. Let's say I was to go home right now. I think I'd be pretty happy, because one thing that I carry with me throughout every single day is living without any regrets. I want to get onto that, no, I don't want to get on the deathbed, but when I do arrive on the deathbed, because it is inevitable, I want to look back on my life and say, I have 0 regrets. And that's exactly what I'd answer right now. If you turned around and asked me that question, what is your biggest regret in life? I can tell you hand on heart, I have 0 regrets. There's a reason I left home at 16. There's a reason I spent 4.5 months at sea on a cruise ship at 17 years old. It's not because I was lucky enough to be put in that position, although I am very grateful for it. It's come from a decision every single time. When I got offered to move to Glasgow for the next 3 years of my life, I could have said no at that very point. No, I don't want to leave home. I want to stay stuck where I am. But I knew from a very early age, from about 13, 14 years old, that I didn't want to stay stuck in my hometown. The hometown that I am from, a little town called Whitehaven, northwest of Cumbria in England, and anybody who's migrated across from Instagram will know my story already. But in that one town, there is a huge nuclear power plant called Sellafield, and everybody in my family has worked there. From my auntie, my uncle, my nan and my granddad, every single person, my cousin, works or has worked at that power plant. And the majority of people in our hometown get stuck there because it's well paid, it's safe and it's secure. You can go out to the pub on the weekend with your mates and live a comfortable life. But from that age of 13 years old, I knew that I didn't want to live a comfortable life. I knew I wanted to achieve more. So what did I do to put myself in this position? I'd done exactly what I wanted to do. Not what anybody else expected or wanted me to do, although that has been a part of it. But later on in life, I realised the only person that can change my life is me. So that's the reason for this podcast, is to share my stories, share my lessons, share the wins, share the successes, but also just share what I've learned along the way, because you can learn from every single person that you come into contact with. I've learned how to start a podcast thanks to a single conversation. I've learned how to buy my first house with no money thanks to investing into a mentor. So surround yourself with the right people. Continue to live however you want to live, whether that is on the pub in the weekend or moving to the other side of the world and creating a great life for yourself. That's my message in me. But on that note, thank you for listening along, whether that be listening on Spotify or watching this on YouTube. I wanted to keep it short and sweet and just give you a really short introduction on who I am, why I started this podcast, and what you can expect going forward. So, I want to leave you with one piece, not of advice, but an actionable step. And I've already mentioned it, but I want you to walk away from this with something beneficial. Go buy yourself a journal and write down everything you want to achieve in your life. But don't give yourself any limitations. Strip it right back to when you were 4, 5, 6 years old. Dream so big that anybody looking at that piece of paper would just throw it in the bin. If you want to earn £1 million a month, write it down. If you want to fly to the moon and be an astronaut, write it down. Don't hold back on this piece of paper, because nobody else is going to see it apart from yourself. I often write down in my own journal, making 500k a month, international property developer, biggest distributor of open heart surgery across Africa. And they're all things that I write down every single day. Not because I've achieved them, but because I write them in the present tense, and I know with full conviction, I have 100% belief in myself that one day will become a reality. But you can't dream, or you can't achieve a dream unless you have a dream. So write it down, dream big, and go after it with everything you've got. Thank you for listening to episode number 1, and I'm sure I'll see you on the next one, whatever I'm supposed to say to you. But it's been fantastic. See you next time.